So now I'm reading still from Daughters of Copper Women by Anne Cameron, the 1981 print. I'm reading page 44, Tem Eyos Ki. She sang of a place so wondrous, the minds of people could not even begin to imagine it. Many generations after old woman freed herself from her meat and bag of skin, many years after the secrets began to be taught by and to the chosen women, the first period of testing occurred, a period old woman had known would occur. The women for centuries had not concerned themselves with politics or argument. They left these things to the men to give them something to occupy themselves with during the long dark months of the winter. The women concerned themselves with spiritual things and with studying the teachings of the society and with children and keeping the society strong and with making sure life was lived as it ought to be, fully and with contentment. The women became complacent. They thought, I hope this is the correct pronunciation, they thought because things had always been so, they would always remain so, and they did not notice that the men had begun to dominate many areas of society, had become powerful, had begun to believe that power was the way things were supposed to be. Some of the women even thought the men were right and that their ideas were as things were supposed to be. And slowly the men took control of all of life, until the women were left with the freedom only within the society of women itself. The men began to give orders to the women and to say which men their daughters should marry. The men began to insist that inheritance should not come through the women at all. And then, when things were not at all as they ought to be, a thing happened that is still spoken of among the women of the society. Tem Eyos Ki went to the waiting house to pass a sacred time in a sacred place, sitting on moss and giving her inner blood to the Earth Mother. Men were not allowed near the waiting house. It was too sacred for them to understand or approach. And then Tem Eyos Ki stayed in the waiting house with some of the other women, whose time it was, and she was there for more than 4 days. And when she came from the waiting house, she was a woman hit by lightning, a woman struck by wonder, a woman shaken with power, a woman filled with love. She walked from the waiting house with a look on her face more potent than magic. Seeds of life glittered in her hair. She smiled and sang a song that told of love that knew no limits, of love that knew no bounds, of love that demanded nothing and expected nothing, but fulfilled everything. She sang of knowing and trusting, of sharing and giving. She sang of a place so wondrous that the mind of people could not even begin to imagine it. A place without anger or fear, a place without loneliness or incompletion. She walked through the village singing her song, and women followed her. They collected the children, boys and girls alike, and followed Tem Eyos Ki, leaving behind the cooking pots and the waving looms, leaving behind the husband and the fathers. Tem Eyos Ki walked past the village along the beach towards the forest, singing her song of love and wonder, and the women followed. The men found the village empty, the meals uncooked, the work unfinished. They followed the woman, angry and threatening. They followed the woman into the forest, followed the women who followed Tem Eyos Ki, who followed the song she learned in the waiting house when she found love. Storm or wind tried to stop the men with gales and rain. The forest tried to stop them. Even the sky tried to stop them, with thunder and lightning, and the sea smashed herself against the rocks to warn the women. The women wept and said they did not want to return home. The men threatened to kill Tem Eyos Ki. To silence her song, so that she would never again tempt the women from their earth fires. They went after Tem Eyos Ki to kill her. But Colus, who is a female figure and was father of the first son who fathered all ordinary people, sent a magic goat. I don't know what that is. And Tem Eyos Ki leaped into it, still singing her song. She flew above the heads of the shouting men and the weeping women and sang of things people had forgotten. The storm stopped, the wind calmed, the rain stopped falling, and the sea became still. All creation listened to the song of Tem Eyos Ki. And then she flew away. The men stopped arguing and began to talk. The women said why they had wanted to leave. The men listened. The women listened. They went home together to try live properly again. But sometimes the woman will think she hears a song or thinks she remembers beautiful words, and she will weep a little for the beauty that she almost knew. Sometimes she will dream of a place that is not like this one. Sometimes she almost thinks she knows what it was Tem Eyos Ki was singing in her song, and she weeps for beauty she never knew.